Do you want to learn effective ways to build relationships, generate sales, and grow your business from successful entrepreneurs, startups, and CEOs without listening to a long interview? If so, you've come to the right place. Gresham Harkless values your time and is ready to share with you precisely the information you're in search of. This is the I Am CEO podcast.
Hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have Michelle DeNio of DeNio.com. Michelle, it's awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm great to be here.
Super excited to have you on. And what I wanted to do was just read a little bit more about Michelle so you can hear about all the awesome things that she's doing. And Michelle DeNio is a business strategist who works with entrepreneurs, business owners, and organizations to create a customized strategic plan for growth, resulting in more clients, more profit, and more freedom. Having worked in many different industries and possessing expertise in the areas of operation, sales, leadership training, time management, and finance, she will help you come up with a clear, direct path forward, then assess how that plan is working and make adjustments along the way. Michelle believes that life is meant to be lived to the fullest, and streamlining your business to give you more time, more free time is crucial to your overall success. Michelle, are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I am very ready. Super excited to be here.
Me too. Super excited to have you on and glad to hear that you're ready. So I wanted to kick everything off by hearing a little bit more about what I call your CEO story and what led you to get started with your business.
Yeah, absolutely. My CEO story, I guess, is maybe a little bit different, but it really stems back to why I say that life is meant to be lived and loved. And we had a very, very close friend that passed away through a very short bout with lymphoma. And at that moment in time, I realized that life is really very, very short, and you have to love what you're doing, and you have to love the career you're in, and we need to be following our passions. And so that's really what's jump-started me to become an entrepreneur and really start my business so that I could live life on my terms and I wasn't stuck in somebody else's mold. And so that's what we did. My husband and I moved from New York. We just decided we were going to live retirement. We moved to Florida to be 3 minutes from the beach, and here we are. And it's been amazing. And I'm so happy to make that I made that leap.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate you for sharing that with us. And obviously sorry to hear, about your friend, but I think that sometimes we do understand after something like that happens and traumatic, whether it be to us or to loved ones or family or friends, that, time is precious and it doesn't just go on forever. There's kind of an end to that hourglass, so to speak. And a lot of times we are waiting, or sometimes we think we have, I guess, more time than we sometimes do to be able to go after our passions, to love our loved ones and things like that. But it's sad that that has to happen, or that does happen. But it's great to hear that you not only had that lesson, but then you sounds like you ran with it.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. It's one of those things where, life teaches us lessons, whether we want them, whether we're ready for them or not. And so It's a matter of what we do with them.
Exactly. So I wanted to drill down a little bit deeper. You talked a little bit about your business, and I know I read a little bit about it. Could you tell us a little bit more on what you're doing with your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I work from a very strategic standpoint. So as a business strategist, my background is in operations. What I really focus on is helping people grow their business to whatever level they're looking to grow it to. So not everybody's looking for that 7-figure, 6-figure entrepreneur organization. And so I really focus on what is your goal, what is your vision, how does that align with the clients you're trying to serve, and then we put a strategic plan in place, whether it's a long-term plan or a short-term, more of like a 90-day plan, whatever really feels in alignment with you, because ultimately, if it's not in alignment and it doesn't feel good, you're not going to do it. That's the number one thing that leads to procrastination, is it just doesn't feel right. So for me, focusing on whatever feels right to you in that moment, let's plan accordingly.
That makes perfect sense. And so it kind of sounds like a lot of times with clients you work with, you kind of have to do that inner work, or maybe even exploratory work on what you want to have in your life and how you want your life to look. And then you're able to kind of, it sounds like, get the tools in order to do that.
Yeah, I always start with the end in mind. I work from the, what are we trying to accomplish? What is the point B? I don't want to start at point A, because if we don't know where we're going, it's very hard to put a map in place. It's no different than getting in your car with a GPS. I mean, if you just get in your car and start driving, but you don't know where you're going, the GPS isn't going to be able to direct you. And so I focus very similar in business. You've got to know where you're going. And if you don't know where you're going, you cannot put a plan in place.
Right. I definitely appreciate that, because I feel like, and I usually say this a lot, that a lot of times we seem to not sometimes have that time or create that space in order to do that inner work or create that vision of what we want to have our life look like. And a lot of times we need that so that we can actually execute on a strategy or even have a strategy in place. But if we don't do that inner work before, it's really hard to get to, like you said, that end destination.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. And so now I wanted to ask you for what I call your secret sauce, and it could be for you or for your organization, but what do you feel kind of sets you apart and makes you unique?
What sets me apart, in my opinion, is my ability to look from the customer's point of view. And so a lot of times when you're putting a strategy in place or you're working with somebody or you're trying to grow your business, you're looking just from your own eyes. And so when I work with a client, I always try to be a customer of that client, because if you aren't, you really don't know how your client's receiving the information. So from the back end, it might look really, really great. But then if all of a sudden, if you try to be a customer, it's like, wait a second, that didn't execute well at all. So for me, if you're not a client of your clients, it's very hard for me to understand exactly the full picture view. And that's really important to me, is making sure we have a full picture view of what exactly we're trying to accomplish.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of times when, we have great ideas, we have great visions for what we want to create in the world and see, built and informed. And I think a lot of times it's very hard. And sometimes we need, it sounds like, the help of people like you that are able to kind of bounce ideas off of, but see that different perspective, because we're so kind of entrenched in what we see in our vision that sometimes we don't see if it's applicable to, a potential customer or client, or if it's just something that we can only use.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to understand the language that your clients are speaking. And so even though perhaps maybe the plan and everything is in perfect play, but if you're not executing it or speaking in a language that your clients are understanding it, and sometimes just those small tweaks. So being able to do that market research, I spend hours doing market research for my clients and getting inside of different Facebook groups or communities and just asking questions based on as if I was a client to really understand, okay, this is exactly what they're saying. This is how you need to put yourself into the market, because this is exactly what your client is saying they're struggling with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And someone that may not be familiar with what market research is that just the looking into, your potential clientele, what they look like, what they're interested in and things like that, and gathering that information?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Awesome. So I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. And this might be an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
One of the things this has changed throughout my career as a CEO and as an entrepreneur, but I heard this from somebody else, and it's actually a hack that I have really incorporated. And that is to only follow like a couple mentors. I think it's so easy in this online space. We have access to everybody. We have access to every freebie, every download, Tony Robbins, Gary Vee. I mean, the list goes on and on. And the reality is that can actually be detrimental to your success. So because everybody's got a different varying opinion of how they grow business. So for me, my hack is to pick a few, 2, 3, maybe that you really, really align and resonate with, and stay super laser focused on that. If those are the ones that you really resonate with and you want to use and you trust their guidance and mentorship, then stay with that and don't let the shiny object syndrome of everybody else's opinions, because the second you let all of those other opinions in and their other methods and techniques, it's going to get overwhelming and confusing, and you can't really piece together a piece here, a piece there. It really doesn't work. So for me, that's been my biggest hack, is picking the few that you really, really want to resonate with, follow their podcasts, follow their freebies, follow their emails, and stick with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it kind of goes back to what you were talking about in the beginning, because I think a lot of times when we kind of, like you said, there's so much information that we have at our fingertips to listen to somebody's podcast or download their ebook or whatever that might be, that we can get so much information and try to incorporate literally every single aspect. But a lot of times we don't also realize that that person that we're getting that download or listen to that podcast from might have a vision for themselves. And that might even not be in alignment with what we're kind of hoping to do. So I don't know if you find that a lot with the clients that you work with.
I do. And that actually probably leads into the next thought you have. But yeah, really for me, it's it's just because everybody's definition of success is different. So following somebody's plan and methods and techniques for their vision, if they have a totally different vision of success than you do, their techniques and methods aren't going to work. And so for me, that's been my biggest habit, really, truly, is follow the people that have the same goals and visions and aspirations as you do, and value the same things in your life as you do. So for somebody who doesn't value enjoying life like I do, and living retirement, and knowing that life is short, I'm not going to follow that person, because they probably have a method of, work all day long, hustle, hustle, hustle. That's just not me. So you've got to know what is important to you, what do you value, and then follow those people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's kind of like your CEO nugget, what you feel you would tell your younger business self.
And to really be in alignment with you. And I think it's so easy for entrepreneurs. We've all been there. My younger self is like, well, this is what so-and-so is doing, so I'm going to follow this lead. And so we become, the entrepreneur life can turn you into somebody that you're not. And so as my younger business self, I would just say, be yourself. Be who you are. Be authentic to you. If something doesn't feel authentic, if it feels like you really have to try to be something that you're not, don't do it. Because we've all tried to fit in this mold of what somebody says an entrepreneur is. And it really, the definition is different for everybody. So that is absolutely, like, if I could tell my younger self anything, it would be to just be you. Do you, be you, and stay in your lane, and feel confident in it. Feel confident that no matter what person you're bringing to the table is exactly who you should be bringing to the table. And you don't need to alter that for anybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's so powerful, just because I think like we kind of touched on, a couple times, is that there's so many kind of external factors that kind of pull to us to do this or do that or be this or be that it's sometimes hard to, find yourself. And sometimes you have to do that work in order to do that, to find, who you are, what makes you unique, what's your secret sauce, so to speak. And then also have an idea of exactly like what that vision is and go through and execute it. But I think that there's, so much noise that sometimes we can lose sight of that and maybe not even feel confident in doing that.
Right. Yeah. It can tear you down, but it can also lift you so high. And so find what lifts you up and leave behind the things that really feel like they're tearing you down.
Absolutely. I love that. And I love that reminder. And now I wanted to ask you my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So Michelle, what does being a CEO mean to you?
Being a CEO to me is owning my life, exactly as I see it. And so for me, being a CEO is, yes, making an impact and impacting the lives of others. But for me, it's owning my life as I choose to define it. And my definition of life is exactly what I want it to be. And that's being a CEO. When you can define every aspect of your life, you can define how much you work, how much you spend, where you live, how much time you take off. It doesn't matter, but I can define every single aspect of my life as a CEO. And that's what's important. And that's what being a CEO means to me.
Nice. I love that. And I love how you mentioned the word owning, because I think a lot of times, sometimes it's like having the life, but owning seems like so much powerful, because it seems like you have control over it. You can dictate or make the decisions based off of that. And you can make the life that you want, not somebody else's life or something else that you saw on, Instagram or whatever. You can actually build the life that you want, that's in line with exactly who you are.
Yeah. And own every aspect of it. I always say that, and own your responsibility and own a commitment. And if I make a choice, I get to own that. And whether it's good, bad, and different, it doesn't matter. But I've made that choice and nobody else is dictating that for me.
Exactly. And understanding, everything is all in line. It's not necessarily siloed or separate as well. So thank you so much, Michelle. I appreciate that definition, and I appreciate your time even more. What I wanted to do was pass you the mic, so to speak, just to see if there's anything additional you can let our readers and listeners know. And then, of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things that you're working on.
Yeah, absolutely. I tend to hang out still on Facebook. I haven't jumped over to the Instagram bandwagon yet. So I'd love to have you come and hang out with me in my Facebook community. It's called Find the Right Clients for Your Business. Or you can just reach out my name. Just I'm listed both my personal page and my business page on my name and Facebook, or you can email me. But yeah, for me, it's just about just enjoying your business. And so if you aren't feeling it and you're ready, like, it's okay to pivot too. If you're feeling like you're in business or you've started something and it's no longer fun, take a step back, take a couple weeks off, and just really think about it and make that pivot. Don't let anybody tell you that pivoting is bad in business. Pivoting is evolution and growth and change. And so focus on that and make sure that whatever you're doing, you are loving it and you are having fun and you are feeling like this is the best thing that ever happened to you. Because if it doesn't, it's time to take a step back. So I always share all of my life lessons and whatever I can. So if I can inspire or keep you motivated, please, I'd love to stay connected with you on Facebook and see how we can motivate each other.
Nice. I definitely appreciate that. And, they always say success is a team sport. So being able to have people you can lean on and connect with and interact with is always great to increase the likelihood of success. So Michelle, thank you so much again for your time. We will have all your links in the show notes as well so that everybody can follow up with you on Facebook and your Facebook community. And thank you so much again. I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the I Am CEO podcast powered by Blue 16 Media. Tune in next time and visit us at IAM426.co. IAM426 is not just a phrase, it's a community. Be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and everywhere you listen to podcasts. Subscribe and leave us a 5-star rating. Grab CEO gear at www.ceogear.co. This has been the I Am CEO podcast with Gresham Harkless. Thank you for listening.